It reminds me of something I saw recently on my Twitter timeline, which was the video of like an Indian dude being gross and creepy to a woman in a nightclub, right? I'll give you a very good parallel here, okay? Because it's analogous to what we're talking about. It's like sports injuries at every step is fairly common, okay? They just get super mad if it's like the one off chance that it's a trans person that contributed to it to, you know, basically push for a transphobic agenda when trans people by and large are not hurting anybody, okay? And the same the comparison is that all these people were like, yeah, that's right, we got to kick all these Indians out of the UK. Does anyone have that tweet? And I was shocked because, like, when white dudes behave like this, all of those same people that say, oh, we got to kick all these Indians out of this country are literally victim blaming. They only care about it if they can push for some ridiculous agenda of like kicking out every Indian person from the UK. Like, it's so obvious. It is so goddamn obvious what this is. Yeah, I saw this. I don't think this person is by any means an ally of mine. Hollow Earth Turf. This is a radfem. But this radfem brought up a very correct point. Weird how men suddenly understand the obvious problem occurring here when the guy doing it is Indian. Okay? Straight up, a harassment incident captured in London has gone viral. Like, do you think this is exclusive to Indians? Are you fucking stupid? No, the difference is the same dudes that are like, "Oh, we gotta kick out every Indian person from our national boundaries," would unironically victim blame if the dude doing this exact same shit, and it happens a million times, okay? It happens all the time. Every woman will tell you that this is a common sight, okay? It is completely inappropriate. It is completely ridiculous. And it's shit that women unfortunately have to go through on a daily fucking basis. And people who go, oh, deport this Indian man, are oftentimes the ones that are doing this exact same thing. But when they're white men doing it, they victim blame. It's inappropriate when it's an Indian man doing it, and it's completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable on both occasions, okay? You are not going to combat women being harassed by advocating for mass deportations. You know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. But for many of these people, they don't care about it anyway. Either they don't see it, they don't realize that they engage in the same exact behavior, but they just want to use it as an opportunity to be racist. Or they only think it's wrong when an Indian dude does it. This is analogous to, once again, the commonplace, the super common sports injuries. Like, these are the same people who say, like, oh, don't be a pussy. We got to have full contact football. 1 in 10 football players get a concussion, okay? A traumatic brain injury, as Trump called it. 1 in 10. God forbid we get better padded helmets and shit, okay? That's pussy shit, I say. While simultaneously talking about a like co-ed volleyball player getting a head injury as the number one problem in sports. I want to make sure people understand. I'm not saying that like the Indian dude is doing anything appropriate there. It's completely inappropriate, completely unacceptable. The problem is I care about this issue, okay? And I think these guys don't. And they're simply using this as an opportunity to drive home their agenda of mass deportations. It's so idiotic. It's the same principle behind constantly talking about trans people is the only time where you quote unquote care about women's sports. Every other day of the week, you're like, ha, women's sports, get the hell out of here. The only time they quote unquote seemingly care about women's sports is if there's like, God forbid, one trans athlete at the high school level. It's so transparent.
Our Chief Washington Correspondent John Carl, our Senior Political Correspondent Rachel Scott. John, let me begin with you. You've covered so many of these addresses. We've never seen one quite like this.
Look, we've grown accustomed to partisan State of the Union addresses, deeply divided reactions, but this, George, really did hit a new level, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, in that chamber, the Republicans are more fervent in their support of Donald Trump than anything we saw in his first term. Remember, in his first term, there were still pockets of resistance among Republicans in Congress. Even the Republican leaders weren't fully all in on everything Trump. Those Republicans in that chamber truly loved what they hear and reflected that. And the Democrats clearly haven't figured out how to respond to all of this. Some of them decided to skip the speech entirely. Some decided to walk out. You saw Al Green decided to get thrown out of the speech, but they haven't really landed on how to respond to Donald Trump. I suspect that the reaction in the country will very much mirror what we saw in the hall. A lot of Democrats simply not watching, those who did hating what they saw, and the Republicans truly loving what they are seeing from Donald Trump.
Rachel, take us inside that chamber. You were there.
Inside the chamber, it was a lack of decorum that we have seen repeated at many.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. The decorum. It's pretty crazy that it's all about decorum. Like Donald Trump, if he was a little bit more aesthetically civil, we would straight up have liberals championing, like liberal media championing the Fourth Reich in America. Okay. They care about the aesthetics and the decorum and the civility more than they care about the things that are coming out of Trump's mouth. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Many of these joint addresses and also the State of the Unions. Leader Jeffries did call for decorum. He asked for a dignified Democrat response. It's unclear if he's going to be satisfied with what Democrats did there. And it was on full display, this sort of disjointed effort from Democrats who are really trying to figure out how to counter the president's message. So yes, Al Green standing up, him being removed. We have never seen something like that play out during the chamber when the president is addressing a joint session of Congress. And then not just that, Democrats also walking out at some point, their backs turned, in some ways trying to do this sort of silent protest, holding up these paddles. Regardless, George, this is a Democratic Party that is really trying to find their footing with very little leverage overall, with Republicans in control in both the Senate and the House.
And John, the president advancing his agenda, but no new policies really in the speech last night.
No, this felt much more like a rally speech. And I thought it was also interesting, George, there's a lot of anxiety in the country, anxiety from federal workers worried about their jobs, anxiety about the tariffs he's just imposed, anxiety around the world about what happened in the Oval Office with Zelensky. Trump didn't seem to be anxious about anything. This is a president who, for the first time in his time as president, is not under investigation and doesn't seem to have a care in the world.
Rachel, familiar exaggerations from the president.
Yeah, and really a lack of reaching across the aisle. He bashed the bipartisan chip deal. He took a dig at the immigration and border security bill that his own party negotiated, and really not even mentioning one big thing, government funding. The government set to run out of funding in less than a week, George.
I think one of the funniest parts about the speech was how much the Republicans were clapping for Trump undermining the legislative body, which obviously is an aesthetic note and no one really cares about it. But he just kept saying, like, I'm the president, and with my executive power, I have actually fixed everything. And and congressional Republicans were like, hell yeah, sir. We're cucks. We ain't got nothing. We got no motion, sir. We got nothing, sir. We are fucking pathetic. It's great. Great stuff. Anyway, Minority Leader Jeffrey says Democrats showed restraint during Trump address to Congress. And also, Senate Dems were dinging their House Dem colleagues over antics at Trump's speech, including Representative Al Green, who is now facing a censure vote in the House. Let's see what Blumenthal had to say.
I wouldn't have necessarily done all the things that were done, but I understand the emotion. He's offering showmanship and bluster and bullying. We need to provide real solutions and avoid taking the bait.
That wasn't any conscious strategy. You know, in terms of responding to that speech, I think there are better ways to do it. Stick with the basics.
Look, I believe firmly that that should be a room of decorum. Now, that said, I've never seen a speech before where a president trolls, heckles, demeans, and degrades people actually sitting in front of them.
Like, they should be standing firmly by Al Green's side for demonstrating the courage necessary. The worst part of the decorum shit is that CNN brings on total assholes like Scott Jennings, who cries foul and whines on air about people being mean to him, and Republicans in the next sentence goes, also, I want to turn gays into mulch. Nicely, though. Exactly. People put style over substance every step of the way, okay? It is shocking. It is, I mean, I guess it's not shocking. It's just like, it's what happens when people are totally devoid of any sort of material gains being made.
And a vote to censure Al Green could happen as soon as this afternoon. Democrats are going to try to kill that measure. It could happen later in this afternoon. Whether they have the votes to do that remains to be seen, as Republicans are eager to punish him for that outburst. Boris?
Yeah, we'll see.
I did see the Bernie response. It was decent. It was probably one of the best responses I've seen so far, beyond the fact that, you know, Al Green showed a direct response in the room. Okay?
The House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, you just heard the speaker there, Mr. Jeffries. What's your response to him saying you're making demands that are unprecedented to keep the government open?
We want to make sure that the government remains open and that we can agree upon a spending bill that meets the needs of the American people in terms of their health, their safety, or now.
Here's how I would talk about this, okay? Here's how you're supposed to frame this. You're supposed to frame this by starting off by talking about how Trump is gutting middle-class jobs by gutting the administrative state, okay? At a time when America is desperately in need of more helping hands, when every single person has experienced some kind of awful service at a point of going to a government agency like the DMV, or when they're flying and there's not enough TSA people, right? We need more people at these positions, not less. So Trump cutting these people, cutting these jobs is horrible for the economy, and it's horrible for everyday Americans, okay? That's number one. Number two, the Trump administration's appetite for destruction doesn't stop there. They also want to cut social safety nets, okay? This is completely unacceptable. And then they turn around and demand that we sit idly by and let this happen. We want assurances. We want guarantees. We are going to use all of the political power that we have in these budget reconciliation bills as the Republicans refuse to get their caucuses together. And we are going to fight like hell to make sure that Americans are protected. Okay? That is what you're supposed to say. That is how you're supposed to do this. Okay? You're supposed to reframe the argument around all of the harms that the Republican agenda is contributing to the American death and destruction, and then say, here's how we're going to stop that. We have very limited tools at our disposal, but we will use all of them to make sure that Trump cannot hurt you. I do not care if you're a Republican. I do not care if you're a Democrat. I do not care if you're an independent. You're an American citizen, and you are not going to be threatened. You are not going to lose your job. Your parents are not going to lose their health care. Okay? I will do everything in my power to stop this from happening. And if the Republicans want to continue operating, then they're going to have to come to the table with us, and they're going to have to bargain with us, and they're going to have to rely on us, and we're going to use that opportunity to protect Americans. That is how you're supposed to talk about this issue, not the way that Hakeem Jeffries is tackling it so
national
far.
security and their economic well-being. And when Congress appropriates the money, the administration, whether it's a Democratic administration or Republican administration, needs to spend that money consistent with improving the lives of the American people. That's not unreasonable. That's entirely reasonable.
Is that a bottom line demand? The Democrats will not vote for the continuing resolution unless they're assured that the president will spend the money that is appropriated?
Well, those discussions are ongoing. Rosa DeLauro is the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. She continues to sit down in good faith to try and reach an agreement over the next few days, and we certainly hope that that can happen.
How about, were you comfortable with Al Green, Congressman Al Green, and his interrupting of the president and other moves you saw from Democrats yesterday? You heard Speaker Johnson there say the Democrats were not showing decorum.
The vast majority of Democrats showed restraint, listened to what the president had to say, and of course we strongly disagree. The biggest problem that I had with the speech is that there was nothing said, nothing laid out, nothing articulated by Donald Trump to meet the needs of the American people, particularly as it relates to the economy. Donald Trump promised to lower costs.
I think a show of support to Al Green here is also necessary. You are literally the House Minority Leader. I don't even think Nancy Pelosi would speak like this. It is shocking. This is Hakeem Jeffries, who Nancy Pelosi chose as her replacement. I think in spite of all of my many very significant disagreements with Nancy Pelosi, she was absolutely mama bear when it came to protecting her caucuses, protecting her representatives. She even went out. She even at times defended Ilhan Omar. Okay, she defended AOC. She put them in positions within the Democratic Party. There's a lot of backdoor dealings that Nancy Pelosi engaged in an effort to make sure that that the Democratic Party presented a unified front. Hakeem Jeffries is not capable of doing this. He just comes across like a pushover. I cannot believe we have another Chuck Schumer now in the other position of power in the Democratic Party. This is literally one of the worst aspects of Chuck Schumer. He is awful at whipping people, okay? He does not use Dick Durbin in the ways that he's supposed to. Dick Durbin is the whip in the Senate. Chuck Schumer is the leader. Chuck Schumer is awful at whipping votes, possibly by design. It is alarming that Hakeem Jeffries is like also a Chuck Schumer type here.
In fact, he promised to lower costs on day one. We know that grocery prices aren't going down, they're going up. Inflation is going up, and the stock market is going down, which is hurting the retirement security of everyday Americans.
You heard Speaker Johnson there. He said,
I will unironically replace every New York Democrat in a position of power, or every California Democrat within a position of power in the Democratic Party with like some Midwestern pro-labor Dems, dude. Put guys like Sherrod Brown, who obviously is, you know, he's no longer active, but like that style of Democrat would be infinitely better at communicating the desires of the working class. You know, people like, Tim Walz. Like, these are people who are absolutely better at not coming across like an out of touch, boring dude in a suit. I don't know why anyone thought city slicker Dems were great communicators to begin with. It's just like they reek of elitism and they demonstrably cannot read the room. I think ultimately when they talk to their constituents, if they talk to them at all, they're talking to the wrong constituents. They're getting their notes from the worst possible people.
tariffs have worked in the past, they're going to work again.
Tariffs against our North American allies and others that are being applied in a ham-handed fashion are going to further erode the economy.
In my opinion, the bigger issue is not New York or CA reps. The issue is that the average age is like 88. I will force retire a primary and Dem over 60. We need those old fucks and how they lead like it is 1982 out of fucking power. They're ruining us because they're so out of touch. That's a bigger issue. I think that's definitely contributing to the problem. And it's not necessarily that they're old. Being old definitely does put you out of touch. But it's also the many decades that you've spent in Congress. The more time you spend in Congress, because, I mean, look at Hakeem Jeffries. He's young. Okay? Hakeem is young in comparison to all of the... He's 54. So he's spry. Okay? He's young and spry. So, and yet he is still having a hard time communicating in a way that makes sense. I think that when you spend a lot of time in Congress, you become infinitely more out of touch because the only people you talk to are lobbyists. And they present a false narrative of how things work. And they delude congressional representatives into believing that they have more broad support than they actually do for the issues that they care about. And many congresspersons don't even care about broad popular support anyway. They just care about eating fancy lunches, eating fancy dinners, getting their children into good schools, and getting their immediate family members into positions of power. Be the Rat says, imagine getting on Twitch to listen to a terrorist and his opinions. Fuck you, Hasan. Let's get this terrorist banned off the platform. Fuck people like Hasan and anyone who supports them. I'm going to unban this person with the hopes that they will listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay? Hasan, don't give them attention. No, it's fine. I mean, people just keep yelling into the void like this, and it's just inconsequential, and they don't understand it, and it makes them more resentful, weirdly enough. My hope is that one day those people will keep tuning in with hatred in their hearts and eventually go, wait a minute, I kind of agree with this person. And they'll get it.
Economy, and we're seeing the consequences of Trump's inattention, inaction, and now his direct assault on a stable economy by enacting these tariffs. Costs are going to continue to go up, and the American people will be hurt.
Did Democrats hear anything from the president last night that they can support?
I was struggling to hear anything relative to what the president had to say in terms of bringing the country together. That was one of the most partisan and divisive speeches ever delivered by an American president, and that's unfortunate. We will continue to try to solve problems for everyday Americans. We want to make life better for every single American in every community, in every corner of this country. But it's unfortunate that our Republican colleagues seem more determined to pass a massive tax cut for their billionaire donors, while at the same time cutting Medicaid, perhaps in the largest possible fashion ever in this country.
You also heard the speaker there say that these protests that many Republicans and some Democrats are seeing in their district to the cuts by Doge and Elon Musk are by paid protesters.
Republicans are proposing the largest Medicaid cut in American history, George. Children will be devastated. Families will be devastated. People with disabilities will be devastated. Seniors will be devastated. Nursing homes will close and hospitals will shut down. The American people are upset about the effort to take away their health care. These aren't paid protesters. These are concerned citizens. The Republicans can try to run away from their extreme budget. We will not let them hide.
Congressman Jeffries, thanks for your time this morning. Robin?
It's interesting because even when he's saying the right things, I feel like he's so sauceless. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's just like is devoid of charisma at a time when like we do need it. Like he just kind of always has the energy of a guy who doesn't want to be there. You know, he's just like, oh God. I'm not gonna lie, your domestic political takes are base, but your foreign policy takes are hard to listen to. Do you think this is partly because of your own personal experience with the American hegemonic machine? I think it's also a part of your personal experience with the American foreign policy machine, and also how much consent is uniparty and manufactured in terms of saying America is a objective force of good. And also foreign policy and domestic policy are directly tied to one another. Former leaders in American politics, former presidents understood this reality. This is why I always point to, was it the Eisenhower speech? Not the one about the military-industrial complex, but instead, every dollar spent on a bomb could be a dollar spent on laying bricks back home. Like, foreign policy and the money that we spend on foreign policy directly benefit the capital owner class. Okay? That's it. We're spending all this money dominating the planet while we could be spending it on ourselves. This is a reality that Donald Trump also uses to his advantage. Americans are responsive to this kind of sentiment. They like this kind of sentiment. That's why Donald Trump keeps saying he is the peacemaker. That's what's so interesting about it. Donald Trump constantly represents himself as a peacekeeper because it is a populist sentiment to express. I mean, he's a liar. He is not a peacekeeper at all. He's simultaneously talking about literally invading Greenland, overtaking Panama Canal, forcibly annexing Canada. Like, he says a lot of stuff, bombing Mexico, declaring the cartel as a terrorist organization so he can like easily bomb Mexico. None of that stuff is obviously isolationist or peacekeeping. And it's expensive, it's costly, it's more war, okay? But at least he markets himself. It's kind of interesting that we have devolved so much that I'm literally saying, like, the Democrats don't even entertain the notion of lying about being peaceful doves, and instead directly lean on how militant they will be. Whereas Donald Trump, on the other hand, lies about being a peaceful dove and then does a metric ton of warfare. But as I've stated time and time again, yeah, Eisenhower's chance for peace speech is what I was talking about. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and those who are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. Think about that. Eisenhower did a lot of awful shit, okay? He is not a communist nor a peaceful dove at all. But Americans have lost sight of even communicating this kind of thing. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles of concrete pavement. We pay for a single fighter with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is not a way of life at all, in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, it's shocking that this is the state of affairs. We're going to talk about Gaza in a second and like how the Trump administration apparently is sidestepping Israel and directly talking to Hamas. I wonder why. and that Israel very actively is clearly surveilling American diplomats in the process and leaking it to their people in American Western news media like Barack Ravid. But before we get to all of that, I wanted to show you some of the insane dick riding from conservatives and some of the idiotic responses from conservatives in general. Here's Charlie Kirk.
We see this a lot, where Democrats refuse to stand, Democrats refuse to applaud, but it's worse than ever. And literally there was one moment.
How dare they not applaud our big, beautiful president? You must hate America. You must hate America. You must hate this child with brain cancer. Like, you're an idiot, dude. Yeah, they're definitely not protesting against Donald Trump. And they're protesting against this child with brain cancer.
Where Donald Trump called out a young man with brain cancer becoming an agent of the Secret Service, and Democrats still did not stand up and applaud. If you will not stand up and applaud for a young boy.
Like, he knows what he's saying is ridiculous, okay? Make no mistake. Charlie Kirk knows exactly what he's doing here. This is a ridiculous way to make an argument. Ha! You must hate this young boy with brain cancer. You want him to die.
Who becomes a member of the Secret Service in an honorary way. There's something really sick and messed up about it.
Yeah, no, totally. These guys are sick. Why can't these freaks just be happy to win? Why do they have to complain we don't like them too? I mean, when they do, ironically enough, when Democrats do actually capitulate and cave, Asmongold is saying the same thing. Yeah, I'm shocked. The apolitical centrist Asmongold is saying the exact same thing as Charlie Kirk. How shocking. Tell me more about how he's not a political commentator and B, an apolitical and a centrist. If you're new to this space, if you're new to the space of independent commentary, especially right-wing commentary, yes, you will be duped easily, okay? There's no other way to explain this. Right-wing commentators, especially ones that are the most effective right-wing commentators, regularly will claim centrism, okay? That's it. For every Charlie Kirk, there is a Jordan Peterson out there. For every Ben Shapiro, there is a Tim Pool out there. Dave Rubin initially started off as a centrist who was leaving the left. My buddy literally just complained about to me about this exact same thing. I don't know what to say. How does one even reply to that? I mean, the easiest and most effective way to reply to that is you're insane if you think that Democrats are actually booing a child with brain cancer. It's virtually impossible to hold a normal conversation with you. Also, secondly, you just say this. Trump pulled up a child as a prop to talk about how he had brain cancer when Trump's administration is cutting cancer research, then followed up by talking about child cancer rates increasing due to chemical exposure. He cut the EPA. Donald Trump quite literally is hoping that there are more children with brain cancer due to chemical exposure, due to toxic pollutants. That's it. What the hell are you talking about? Is your brain that hollowed out that you just look at this prop, this child being used as a prop, and go, nope, I have no independent thoughts in my brain. This is what's so frustrating about this process as well. Like, people yell at me all the time and think that I'm like actively trying to undermine their well-being, think that I'm actively their enemy. And they've deluded themselves into thinking that I'm just like advocating for a world where they'll be harmed. When it couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I want you to get healthcare. I want your water to be clean. I want your roads to be fixed, you dumb fucks. And if given the opportunity, I would force that upon you, okay? Whether you like it or not, you can find that to be scary. Ooh, oh no, we're going to have incredible broadband. We're going to have a better infrastructure so that every part of this country can have ISPs that actually provide fiber optic networks. Oh no, don't force me to drink clean water. Oh no, I don't want it. You're going to take it and you're going to love it. Okay, shut the fuck up. That's it. And I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your political worldview is. Okay, these things are good and they're good for you. And you will never recognize that until you have it. Okay. And when you do have it, you'll fight tooth and nail to preserve it. Except for when someone like Donald Trump is in charge and will just say, Social Security is DEI. A lot of old people are actually stealing from Social Security. And then these dumbasses will eat it up, not realizing that they're undermining their own future. Oh. Politics is not about team sports. But unfortunately, in the United States of America, because we are so far removed from material action and understanding what politics actually is about, which is a constant competition for resources, who gets to have the power and who gets dominated by those who have power. It's a constant struggle to redistribute the finite amount of resources that people have. People don't recognize that. And in some ways, people don't demand that anymore because that's not what politics has been. It's been a spite competition for the past multiple decades at this point. Okay. So they just have no way of thinking correctly about how politics is supposed to be. They have no way of envisioning a better future or advocating for their own immediate needs. So it's just team sports for them. It's just like, yep, I'm owning the libs and the libs are owning the conservatives. That's all this is. And there is place for spite. Make no mistake. There's place for spite in all of this, for sure. It's fine if you spite conservatives. That's understandable. But make no mistake, it's not because of the optics. It's because of their policies. That's what matters. Okay? It's so goddamn stupid. Anyway, speaking of goddamn idiots, here's Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh.
I have not clapped that much, like, in total in my entire life as I did in the room. So it's a lot of clapping. I will say that I thought it was a great speech. I thought, but for me, unfortunately, being in the room, even though it was a really good speech, the big takeaway is just the Democrats, and I'm sure you guys have covered it, but the performance by the Democrats I thought was just disgraceful and ridiculous. And being in the room, I mean, I don't know how much you pick up on camera. I'm sure the one guy standing up and refusing to leave, that certainly made it in. But the just constant comments, the little stunts, they're looking down at their phone. I had a woman who was right in front of me down below who was like taking angry selfies of herself and texting them to her friend. I could see that happening. So this is what the lawmakers were busy doing.
Matt, did you photobomb any of the selfies for this Democrat woman's friends? Just like,
I did. I got in one of them. I got in one of her that she sent to a friend. But to me, the thing that kind of tells you everything you need to know is that the Democrats sat on their hands and did not clap anything. They didn't,
Oh, they didn't clap for anything. How dare they not clap for my big, beautiful, glorious president? Oh, we should arrest them.
They didn't clap a child cancer survivor. They didn't.
Yeah, this part. Oh my God, dude. This is actually the very representative of the state of affairs. Okay. They didn't clap for a child cancer patient. What the fuck is going on, man? What are you talking about? You have the brain of a 4-year-old. It's truly alarming. Yeah, we brought this cancer patient specifically for claps, and the Democrats didn't clap for him. They must hate children with cancer.
They didn't clap planting a flag on Mars. They didn't clap, protecting Americans from crime, killing terrorists, and all of that. The only thing they clapped for, was Ukraine. That was the one single applause line from the Democrats. And I think that sort of tells you everything you need to know about the Democrat Party, which is just nothing but a...
They didn't even clap for their own vote. There was one point where Trump thanked them for voting for Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. They didn't even clap for that. I mean, it really was an...
Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene was a literal howler monkey during Biden's State of the Union. It's true. But I want that. I want that from the Democrats as well. Okay? Who cares? This is such like libbed up bullshit. Okay? Straight up. Yeah. Also, Ben Shapiro's lobbying Trump right now to pardon Derek Chauvin. If you want to understand where the conservative movement is right now, what they're up to. Okay? I like that. Did you even say thank you? Is like unironically most of the grievances that these guys have. They run everything. They got all their wishes. They're dominating politics. They're whipping everybody around. And even then, they're just not happy. They're not happy. It's not enough. You also have to sit by and say thank you for the pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be in the room. Thank you for not arresting us. Oh my God. Yowza. Yowza. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marjorie Titan Greene, and her sexy ass boyfriend from Right Side Broadcasting News. The one who asked Zelensky why he doesn't wear a suit. Saw you from across the bar looking ass couple, dude. No, that's Mickey Rourke and John Hurt. Also, here's the Third Way roadmap, by the way. Third Way is a centrist Democrat think tank responsible for many of the failures of every single Democratic election cycle. Here's what the roadmap is. They want to move away from small dollar fundraising, integrate more with the business community and embrace corporations, propose spending cuts, go to real communities, which it defines as gun shows, ostracize progressive staffers, ban activists. Pro-aspiration and pro-capitalism in a smart way. Recognize that working class voters value upward mobility and economic success. Have a prosperity gospel aimed at the working class. Call out corporate abuses individually instead of attacking corporations as a whole. Take government complaints seriously and commit to improving its efficiency. Push for systemic reforms rather than just defending the status quo. I like that the Democrats, yeah, they're Bush-era Republicans now. It's very cool. Like, why would anybody ever vote for the Dems if they followed through on this? When they got the full-strength soda right there. Yeah, of course you're going to vote for the Republican Party. Shift messaging away from handouts. Many working class voters reject policies seen as giveaways, student loan forgiveness, universal basic income. Frame policies around opportunity, empowerment, and work rather than redistribution. Small language shifts matter. Focus on better wages instead of minimum wage. Fear of dissent within the party and need to embrace an open debate defined as being afraid to criticize the left, then followed up by saying the left needs to be systematically kicked out of the party. Yeah. Remember, they did this. They already did this with the Kamala campaign. Look at what happened. They are never learning their lessons, man. They are just not going to learn from their past mistakes. They just don't think it's a mistake at all. Reduce far-left influence and infrastructure. Build a moderate democratic infrastructure, including media, talent pipelines, and communication networks. Where is there a media infrastructure that is far-left influential? It's me and a bunch of other Twitch streamers and a bunch of other podcasters that organically develop these audiences. Every part of the Democratic Party's infrastructure is built this way, to have a moderate democratic infrastructure. What are the podjons? That's the role that they play. Are they also too woke? Push back against far-left staffers and groups that exert a disproportionate influence on policy and messaging. Ban far-left candidate questionnaires and refuse to participate in forums that create ideological purity tests. I think one of the most insane things that has taken place in front of our eyes is that the Democratic Party actively welcomed vultures into its home, okay, willingly. Vultures that were former Republicans, okay, that still have a lot of reactionary sentiment. And they have dominated the ranks of the Democratic Party in perpetuity, okay? It's all rhinos up and down. The Democratic Party has become the rhino party. And why would you need two right-wing parties? You are always going to vote for the real Republican Party and not the fake Republican Party. I hate purity testing, but also I'm going to purity test the left.
Thousands of Chinese Communist Party delegates. This is the political event of the year. For the rest of the world, it's a rare glimpse into the Great Hall of the People and into the impenetrable world of elite Chinese politics. At its helm, President Xi Jinping, dealing with problems at home and abroad. China is about to present its economic plan for the year ahead.
I gotta pee.
But there are serious challenges. There's a property crisis. People aren't spending enough money here. And now China needs to factor in a trade war with the United States. Its response to US tariffs has been swift and strong. For 2 days in a row, it's put out this statement. If war is what the US wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. After the session, a chance to try and grab the thoughts of the country's elite. What impact will the trade war have on China?
I think it will have little impact on China because we treat others the way they treat us.
Our tech develops so fast. Just look at DeepSeek. Look at how fast our AI develops.
Far from the political capital, at the other end of the country in Guangzhou, a glassware exporter braces for the latest tariffs and hopes for the best.
I think the people will discuss this at the beginning, but yeah, of course, 10% is a huge number. You know, some profit even lower than this, but we cannot change it. Just get used to it and let it be.
However, it's not easy to let it be when old alliances are shifting and relationships crumbling. And in this new world, as China says, everything is changing fast. Nicole Johnston, Sky News, Beijing.
We've been talking an awful.
It's really interesting that China for decades has kept a very tempered approach to American incursions in the field of international relations. And the one time where they marginally moved in the direction of you know, saying, like, if you want to go to war with us, like, we'll go every step of the way. Everybody goes, oh, finally, they did it. Finally! They want war. They want it. We're going to smoke them. Things are going to get so much worse. It's going to get so much worse. Chinese embassy in the U.S. says if the U.S. truly wants to solve the fentanyl issue, then the right thing to do is consult with China by treating each other as equals. If a war is what the U.S. wants, it'll be a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war. We're ready to fight till the end. That last part is the reason why Americans are, they're so excited for this. Like, those in positions of power are so excited for this. I know Trump has an emergency statement for Gaza. I'm going to get to it in a second. The fentanyl issue is a flimsy excuse to raise U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. Our countermeasures to defend our rights and interests are fully legitimate and necessary. The U.S., not anyone else, is responsible for the fentanyl crisis inside the U.S. Is true. This is literally true. And by the way, Claudia Sheinbaum and even Justin Trudeau has said as much, right? Justin Trudeau being the most cucked out of these three, has not had such strong words. But China and Claudia Sheinbaum have basically demonstrated the reality. Like, you don't want to prosecute the Sacklers. You have completely destroyed your own healthcare infrastructure, and then you complain that it's like other countries that are responsible for the fentanyl crisis. In the spirit of humanity and goodwill towards the American people, we have taken robust steps to assist the U.S. in dealing with the issue. Instead of recognizing our efforts, the U.S. has sought to smear and shift blame to China and is seeking to pressure and blackmail China with tariff hikes. Why do you hate Canada so much, Law? I don't. I have stated time and time again that I am an active participant and defender of boycott, divestments, and sanctions on the settler colonial entity that is America. The United States of America is a belligerent nation, and I am with my Canadian brothers, sisters, and MBs. Except for, don't BDS me, obviously, because, I support you. I support your cause. Anyway, going back to the matter at hand here. Bro, you are weak shit and full cap. You are always a transformer with everything. Just be normal for once. The 88 guap for one time. Thanks. What did I say that you consider to be full cap here? 88 guap. Hopefully you can enlighten everybody in the chat. Hopefully you were born in 1988.
Awful lot about President Trump's new tariffs on foreign imports, including products from China, but they are not talking about them as much over in Beijing at the once-a-year meeting of China's.
Is Hasan merch going to be more expensive because of tariffs? No, because Hasan merch is made in the United States, baby. I don't know if like the raw goods, like some of the materials that union-made, U.S.-made merchandise is I don't know where they're sourcing their cotton from or whatever. So in that case, it might get more expensive. I'm not entirely familiar with that aspect of the process, but it shouldn't go up.
Rubber stamp parliament, although China's leaders have already announced they are hitting back. Anna Koren is in Beijing for us following all this. Anna, good morning.
Hello, Tony. That's right. China is responding with defiance, which is something that President Trump really is not used to. It is refusing to back down in this escalating trade war, and that act of strength, we really saw that today at the opening of the National People's Congress here in Beijing.
On a crisp spring Beijing morning, thousands of delegates from around the country descended on Tiananmen Square. Dressed in their finery, some in traditional costumes, they'd come for the most important event in China's political calendar, the National People's Congress. But for these legislative members, one topic was clearly off limits.
Excuse me, sir, are you worried about the US-China trade war? Thank you. Do you think that President Xi and President Trump can make amends? Do you have a message for President Trump? Do you have a message for the American people?
However, once inside the Great Hall of the People, the cameras turned to the main event.
The National People's Congress is very much focused on the economy, but this year it has been overshadowed by geopolitical events, with the US-China trade war taking centre stage.
President Xi, whose government only yesterday announced retaliatory tariffs against the US, was an observer. It was his deputy, Premier Li Qiang, who delivered the address. He announced an ambitious GDP growth target of 5%, committed more fiscal resources to stimulate the economy, where youth unemployment, lack of consumer spending and the fallout from the property crisis remain central issues. The Premier also acknowledged the geopolitical tensions confronting China, a reference to the escalating trade war with the US, which on the surface shows no signs of abating. But some here are more hopeful.
As the sort of rivalry goes on, there will come to a point that we can have a good settlement.
I have never heard from any American politician even a fraction of this kind of relatively cheery approach to Chinese-American relations. Not one. There is not a single Democratic Party representative out there, congressperson out there, that would turn around and be like, I hope that, we don't want war, and I hope that we inevitably will come to a positive conclusion with China. Okay? Let alone the fact that none of them speak Mandarin, obviously. Why are they not sending Chinese-speaking reporters? I'd be mad too if some bra started to talk to me in English about the attempt of teabagging their countries trying to do the mine. Yeah. It is crazy because they know they are losing. What do you mean? It's just like I don't even do a fraction of the negative coverage that Western media does to China when I'm covering the Western, the American empire. Okay. Yes, I'm incredibly critical when I talk about the actions of the American empire. And even then, it's nowhere near as insane as the way that like Western news outlets cover China. And that fraction of criticism that I afford the United States of America is enough for like every American to turn around and be like, you're the most anti-American hater. Get out of here. If you don't like it, leave the country. It's like, oof.
Now, while there's obviously hope, Gail, that there will be some sort of trade deal, China will not be bullied. And that is the message that we are getting. And even the markets would indicate that. If you look at it year to date, China's market is up almost 15%. The US market in comparison down almost 2%. So really there is a sense, at least we're getting those signs, that China is going to cope because they've had more time to prepare for the next phase of this trade war. Gail.
Now to the fallout from tariffs the Trump administration has imposed on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. Elizabeth Schulze joins us now with the potential impact. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Michael. The new 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and additional tariffs on China risk raising prices for American households on everything from groceries to gas to electronics. And this morning, China is warning that it is prepared to fight this trade war until the end.
This morning, the U.S. is embroiled in a trade war as Canada, Mexico, and China retaliate against President Trump's sweeping tariffs on America's biggest trading partners.
I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing 25% tariffs against more than $100 billion worth of American goods. Ontario now threatening a 25% export tax on the electricity it sends to 1.5 million homes in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. And Canadian liquor stores retaliating, removing American-made alcohol with the sign stating products produced in the U.S. are no longer available until further notice.
Now, it's not in my habit.
I'm not going to lie. I do truly believe that when Justin Trudeau says, oh, we don't want this, like we need partnerships, Trump hears that as, oh, I'm going to go extra hard. Like, I think he hates Trudeau. He's like, oh, I love that. I love that he doesn't like this.
Habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum also vowing new tariffs on Sunday as China imposes its own tariffs on some U.S. goods, including chicken.
He hates Claudia too? That's not true. Trump has actually spoken positively about Claudia Sheinbaum. He constantly says, he constantly undermines Trudeau by calling him Governor Trudeau. But when talking about Claudia Sheinbaum, he's actually said some positive things. I think he just respects power and respects people who are popular. And because because they're in Mexico, he doesn't understand their politics at all. In his mind, it's just like all the same to him. Yeah, okay, whatever. They're Mexico. Who cares? Morena, I don't get it. They're something. They're doing Mexican politics is very different than American politics. But yeah, Trump does respect Claudia Sheinbaum.
Wheat, soybeans, and beef. The Chinese embassy warning in a tweet overnight, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. Best Buy now says prices could go up for electronics, while Target CEO...
Yeah, by the way, Trump administration live updates. Car makers get month-long reprieve from tariffs. That's so fun. Wait, why are they doing that? The Trump administration said on Wednesday that it would allow car makers to escape the tariffs imposed on all goods from Canada and Mexico for 1 month. The announcement came a day after President Trump imposed a blanket 25% tariff on all products entering the United States from those countries. The reprieve came after the president spoke with top officials at General Motors, Ford Motor, and Stellantis. Interesting. Oh, by the way, remember when I said they're going to cut veteran affairs? Oh, the Veterans Affairs Department is planning to reduce its workforce by more than 80,000 people, a major escalation of the downsizing efforts of the department. Remember when I told you that there is no shot that they would cut the baby murder shit? They would never cut funding for killing children overseas. They will only cut funding. If they ever cut DOD funding, if they ever cut defense funding, it will come out of the pockets of healthcare for veterans, housing for veterans, things of that nature. There you go. There it is.
cautions fruit and vegetables imported from Mexico will get more expensive.
We'll try to protect pricing, but the consumer will likely see price increases over the next couple of days.
The United Auto Workers Union is praising President Trump for taking, quote, aggressive action to end free trade, saying that the tariffs could boost domestic manufacturing. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick did signal that there is a path for Trump to meet Canada and Mexico in the middle on these tariffs. And we're told that President Trump will speak with the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, later this morning, Michael.
Canadian here, people are so libbed up because of Trudeau's statements lately, even the usual Trudeau haters. I think he's been pretty strong with his words against Donald. But you think he's been the weakest between China and Mexico? Not trying to be contentious, just wondering why, I think, he is also resisting against Donald Trump. And I think that he has galvanized Canadians behind him. And I think he's doing a decent job. I was just saying that China straight up was like, yeah, we'll go band for band, little boy. And Claudia Sheinbaum was like, you want us to combat fentanyl, but it's your problem. And out of those three statements, Justin Trudeau is basically like, we don't want this kind of fight. I apologize. That's all I was saying. Like, he's still doing a decent job. But, it's just very much the weakest out of the three. Very polite, very Canadian.
All right, Elizabeth, we know you're going to come back with the answer that's the most searched for questions. You're going to have the answers about those, about what it could mean for your
I do think that there's a likelihood that the Canadian conservatives might lose because of Donald Trump, because of their allegiance to Donald Trump. For the record, it's pretty funny. Hasan, you and your fucking insane cult of dick-sucking cronies should unplug, delete your numerous accounts, take a fucking bath, and do something actually productive with your lives instead of rotting away as borderline terrorists. I like that this guy didn't say that we're terrorists. He said we're borderline terrorists. So thank you. This person is redeemable. We'll keep you.
Wallet, which is the most important thing for Americans out there.
Good to see you. So, speaking of tariffs, China said yesterday that they're ready for any kind of war with the U.S. Because of these tariffs that have been placed on them. And a Chinese spokesperson also said that the tariffs would not lead to a resolution of U.S. concerns about fentanyl originating in China. Can you speak to how the administration is planning on responding to that?
Well, I think Secretary Hegseth has responded to that this morning. He said that America will always be prepared to defend itself, especially under the leadership of this president in the Oval Office. And that certainly remains true. Again, when it comes to tariffs, the president has been very tough on China, not just now with 20% and more with the reciprocal tariffs that will hit on April 2nd. But look at what he did in his first term. There were billions of dollars worth of tariffs that he implemented on China. And it's quite telling that the previous administration did not rescind those tariffs because they realized the value that they had in not only deterring China, but also raising revenue here in the United States. Rachel.
A Pennsylvania auto dealer says that because of Trump's tariffs, sticker prices for new cars and trucks are already higher.
We covered this yesterday already. Oh, yeah, this is, we already covered this yesterday. Like, obviously, it's going to increase auto prices, considering how automobiles are manufactured, both in Canada and also Mexico, different parts, okay? Caroline Leavitt responds to the president of Panama's claims that Trump is lying about canal reclamation.
The president also said that the United States was reclaiming the Panama Canal. The president of Panama this morning, or at some point today, said that President Trump was lying. Wanted to get your response to that, and also curious if the president had a reason for not specifically mentioning BlackRock last night when he was praising the company that is buying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. Why didn't he mention which company bought it? Perhaps it's because BlackRock has become notorious, infamous in the minds of all Americans as like the big bad, because Americans are allergic to pointing out the flaws of capitalism, so they have to find a different evil that is responsible for it. Okay? And that evil is BlackRock. And why is BlackRock evil? Because they're woke and gay. Until they're, of course, abiding by the wishes of the Trump administration, in which case they're no longer woke or gay. A similar predicament with the Silicon Valley tech CEOs. Conservatives cried and complained about Silicon Valley being woke and gay for years and years and years. Okay? And now they don't complain about it no more. Anti-corporate populism on the conservative side, unironically, exclusively revolves around not capitulating to the wishes of the reactionary forces in this country. That's it. That's the only time where they're like, oh, I hate corporate, I hate big tech. Why do I hate big tech? Because they're woke and gay. Okay, big tech's no longer woke and gay. It's good now. That's it. That's it. Same with BlackRock. Same with all of these companies. Okay. Oh, they're doing DEI. That's why we hate them. Like, what are you talking about? And Americans are just completely unable to comprehend, like liberals and Republicans alike, that like it's the corporations are behaving in the normal ways that they're supposed to be behaving under capitalism. It is the fault of capitalism, but they can't think about it like that because that's scary. That's scary thoughts. You have to kill the thought inside of your mind that capitalism might be the issue here. So you just have to, you have to point to different companies, some companies that are bad, but then other companies are good. This person says someone should kill Hasan, terrorist sympathizer. I'm gonna unban this person as well, and wish this person a wonderful journey. Don't know why he censored himself like this. Maybe he meant kiss Hasan. I think he meant someone should kiss Hasan, terrorist sympathizer. Ah. 211 and 209, House GOP overcomes Dem effort to kill censure resolution against Al Green for his floor protest during the Trump speech. He is expected to be censured tomorrow. It used to be very rare when the House would censure a member, and only for some of the worst offense, like being a Palestinian and saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And that's the last big time that they've done that. What is this, bro? You banned my other account for telling you the true quieter and unban this dude? Make it make sense? Yes. I cannot reform you when you say stuff like that. But the person that says you're a terrorist sympathizer. Do you still think you'd get the terrorist baby hate if you were Jewish? Fuck no. Are you kidding me? No. They would be calling me the K word or a capo because these people don't have any ideological interest in this. They just want to smear. Okay? Yeah, they'd be calling me a self-hating Jew if that was the case. But because, you know, my name is Hasan, they just go with the easy one, which is terrorist. Being Jewish and pro-Palestine is OP. You wish you were me, bud. No, because then you get the anti-Semitic smears. What are you talking about? Yeah, they would be like, if I was Jewish and advocating for the exact same things that I'm advocating for, they'd say, oh, you haven't been banned because you're Jewish and you own the media. That's what they would be saying. You know? In his latest million views vid about you, Asman claims you meant you, the viewer, instead of Mike Johnson and the Republicans when you said you would take action against Rick Scott. He also said he added context to the main clip when you actually meant he didn't add context on the doohickey. He didn't. All while using that stalker's Twitter's chopped up clips. Yeah, I know. Good luck to Asmongold. I'm sure he will be defending free speech over and over again for the next year. Classic. This was interesting.
Hey, Peckerwood. Yeah, you. If you ain't got a truck, you ain't shit.
That's right, baby.